The response was incredibly positive. And even though there was rain in the forecast and it was actually like drizzling the entire time, we had 175 people come out and sample in the first hour of the event. And then we had a downpour, and it was less populated after that. But it was really positive. And again, there's like this positivity, like a win-win-win for the community, for the farmers, and for the chefs.
That's Skylar Falter, program specialist with Fresh Buy Local Nebraska, talking about the turnout at the first local food showcase of the summer in Beatrice. Rain didn't keep people away, and that energy is exactly what the organization is hoping to carry into 3 more showcases across the state this summer. That's now on Nebraska FARMcast. From the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, this is Nebraska FARMcast. I'm Ryan Evans. You can find a host of farm and ranch management resources on our center's website at cap.unl.edu. Fresh Buy Local Nebraska, which is housed in the Department of Agricultural Economics here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, is taking its local food showcases on the road this summer, hosting free community events where Nebraskans can sample locally grown food, meet the farmers behind it, and connect with the people building local food systems in their communities. I'm glad to be joined today by Michelle Garwood, Program Coordinator, and Skylar Falter, Program Specialist with Fresh Buy Local Nebraska. We'll talk with them about what these local food showcases look like, what they mean for producers, and where the rest of the season is headed. Thank you both very much for joining me. And Michelle, I'll start with you. These events are spread across pretty different parts of the state. And I mentioned you had the first one last month in Beatrice. So what are the other locations on the calendar this summer for the local food showcases?
The next showcase will be July 18th in O'Neill, and that'll be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's part of their annual Summerfest celebration held in Ford Park. Then on July 25th, we'll be in the Grand Island Area Farmers Market, and they will be hosting us from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Bosselman Enterprises parking lot, and that's at 1607 Locust Street. And the last one will be held at the original North Platte Farmers Market on August 1st, and that will run from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and that's still in Central Time, at the Harvest Christian Fellowship parking lot at 1501 South Dewey Street.
Awesome. And we should mention before we go much further, Fresh Buy Local Nebraska is on the web at buylocalnebraska.org. And Skylar, what can people expect with these events? What can somebody walking into a local food showcase expect it to look like, and what they'll experience?
Yes, definitely. These showcases are designed to be a celebration, a time for the community to sample local foods inspired by what is growing in season right now. So it's centered around joy. There's going to be food samples prepared by local chefs, probably something a little familiar but a little unique. We're trying to bring in an element of try something new. Let's do a taste test here and see, maybe it's a muffin, but maybe the muffin has rhubarb in it and you've never tried that before. Or there's a soup with asparagus, which might not be as common of an experience. And then we also have they're all family friendly. That's a big piece of it, is bring your family, bring your kids. There's always an activity for youth of all ages to participate in. So in the past, we've had it be food painting. So chopping up vegetables and using them to paint bags. And we've had, make your own herb pot. So you get to take home a little potted plant for your house, for your kitchen. So these experiences have been really, again, centered around enjoying our time, meeting farmers, meeting who grows your food. And hopefully these showcases continue for many years.
Yeah, and that grower piece really does seem central here. Michelle, what does participation look like for a producer, and what do you hope they get out of being there?
Yeah, for sure. They are the ones that are supplying the ingredients for the recipe, the main ingredients, of course. And so working with them to see what's in season, and hopefully, like Skylar said, we're trying to get unique recipes. So hopefully there will be an increased interest in their products after that tasting experience. We hand out recipe cards for the samples that are prepared. And, last weekend at the East Campus Discovery Days, we served up around 200 samples, and most people took the recipe home with them. And so that's really encouraging. And we hope that because of that, these producers will experience some increased interest in their products, hopefully some increased sales. And so, for example, we served kohlrabi slaw last weekend.
I can attest. It was
yes,
good.
You were there and tried it. And so it was really fun because we get to measure, do they like it a little bit, a lot, or not so much? We do a voting thing with beans in a jar. It's really fun. And so the majority of the people voted they liked it or liked it really well. And so that was really neat to see people being open-minded to new products. And yeah, we just hope that that results in more interest in local foods overall. Now, there's another piece to it also where we connect these producers and the chefs. And so maybe they've met each other, maybe they haven't. Maybe these chefs are serving a lot of local food in their establishment. Maybe they're just starting to get interested in it. But we're hoping this also fosters relationships that lead to increased sales for the producers.
That's a really cool connection I didn't even think about with events like this. So cool. And Skylar, I mentioned that you already had the first showcase in Beatrice. So how was that response and the experience there?
The response was incredibly positive. So this was our third time hosting the event. And even though there was rain in the forecast and it was actually like drizzling the entire time, we had 175 people come out and sample in the first hour of the event. And then we had a downpour, and it was less populated after that. But it was really positive. And again, there's like this positivity, like a win-win-win for the community, for the farmers, and for the chefs. So one of the things that was made there was a spring pesto. And so this chef used turnip greens and radish greens and garlic and, the nuts and Parmesan cheese, the classic pesto. But the twist was having radish greens and turnip greens, and people loved it. And, their sample was all featured around using the whole plant, right? So like using the radish root was used in the salad they made, and then the greens were used in this pesto. And so the chefs were also like, I never cooked with this. I've never tried this. I get to be creative, because in your restaurant, you might not always want to take the risk of trying something new. You don't know if it's going to sell. You have to invest in that money. So this is also a way for chefs to build relationships with the farmers, and then also try something new and see that people really like it. Let's put it on the menu. Let's have spring Nebraska pesto on the menu in restaurants across the state. I love that idea.
Oh, that sounds delicious. That's amazing. And you both have laid out a lot of reasons why this is a great thing for producers, for the public, for chefs and restaurants. And I'm curious though, Skylar, buy local is a concept most people have heard of, but is there a case that you make to a producer who might be skeptical that events like this really move the needle for their business?
Yes, that is always something we discuss with farmers, and building relationships is at the forefront there to know the people we're working with. But as for instance in Beatrice, anytime we have a showcase, it doubles their market attendance. So that is a huge impact on a small market. And then they also see that a boost in sales. So that's been every year. And so these little local food showcases have inspired that market then to start programming so that more people come to their market. And the producers are on board with that because they've seen, okay, yeah, this is a good investment for the market, because we know this means more people are coming, younger people are coming, families are coming. And then we also see that they buy more local foods, which also increases, health for the whole community when we have more people eating local.
And Michelle, local food systems in Nebraska here have grown a lot in recent years, but I imagine there are still real gaps between producers and consumers. So where do you see these frictions, and how do you see events like these local food showcases helping to address those?
I think, scaling up is something that we talk about and incorporate into our educational programming. And one of the trickiest things in Nebraska, the biggest challenge that we have is matching up enough supply with our short growing season. And producers have to feel confident that they should make that investment in pretty substantial infrastructure. And so to get more confidence in doing things like that they should look for ways to scale up for relationships that they can form to help them do that. And what I've learned so far is that getting into restaurants or food trucks or establishments like that, it's kind of one of the easier first steps versus just going right into a grocery store or a huge hospital or a school. And so this event, I'm hoping to see more of those relationships formed and more producers willing to kind of venture out and take that first step of working on scaling up with different chefs across the area.
Yes, so I think part of the friction that happens right now is that sometimes at markets, it doesn't seem like there's enough demand for these products. And so the goal of this event is to spark that curiosity for people to try something new. Like kohlrabi, there's not kohlrabi on the grocery shelves in Lincoln, Nebraska, or it's very hard to find, but local growers have it. And so it takes a risk from the producer and the consumer to be like, I'm growing this thing you might be unfamiliar with. It's delicious. And then the consumer needs to come back and say, I'm willing to try it. So these events are like an easy way for that to happen organically through this celebration.
Great. And Michelle, before we wrap up, could you just one more time run down the dates and towns of the upcoming local food showcases this summer, if you don't mind?
Sure. July 18th is in O'Neill, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Summerfest celebration in Ford Park. July 25th, Grand Island Area Farmers Market from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Bosselman Enterprise parking lot, 1607 Locust Street. And the last one will be at the original North Platte Farmers Market, August 1st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Harvest Christian Fellowship parking lot, 1501 South Dewey Street.
I want to note that this project was a 3-year pilot program that was funded through a grant from the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture. And so we were working with the Nebraska Department of Ag for this funding. It was through a specialty crop block grant. So it was to promote those specialty crops, the crops that, are the vegetables, the honey, fruits, nuts that are grown here. And we are really grateful for that funding. You can see it on the ground, the impact.
We've been speaking with Michelle Garwood, who's the program coordinator with Buy Fresh Buy Local Nebraska, and Skylar Falter, program specialist. It's always great to catch up with you both, and we encourage listeners to catch up with you as well on the website at buylocalnebraska.org. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. We hope to see you at a local food showcase this summer.
Thank you very much for listening to Nebraska FARMcast, a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm Ryan Evans, and you can find a host of farm and ranch management resources, including articles, decision tools, videos, and more on the Center for Agricultural Profitability's website, cap.unl.edu.